Explained by the Billy Meier contacts. Mysteries, myths, legends, conspiracy theories, historical inaccuracies, and more. Compiled by David Chance, revised October 18, 2023.
Thule Society. See also Ashtar, Shiran. See also Extraterrestrials, Giza Intelligences, Abafoth Thule Society. Contact Report 034.
We have some writings from a group in Berlin who are dealing with this Ashtar Sharon.
I already said that we know the name very well. But we also know of the writings you mentioned, and more of various other things. Despite all our efforts, which we have been doing for years, we were not able to connect with these life forms. We could neither find them in the places mentioned nor ever locate them. We searched countless systems of normal time and countless dimensions for them, but nowhere was there a clue from them. Everything is very mysterious, and interestingly enough, the traces from all systems of this and other times and from all dimensions lead back again and again to the Earth, especially to Germany. There, the traces bundle together and concentrate in a very specific place and on a very specific entity. This is a center of a very powerful secret organization, which you certainly do not know, and which calls itself the Thule or Aris Society. 80. In years of work, we have not been able to clarify why all this is so, why we continue to research in this relationship. However, it is absolutely clear that all impulses undoubtedly emanate from this center. The initiators of these impulses possess great knowledge and many powers. They are also in possession of few primary telepathic powers and many kinds of knowledge about extraterrestrial technologies, events, and about extraterrestrial intelligences, etc. We have established with absolute certainty that they transmit this knowledge through primary telepathy, via impulsives, and thus influence many Earth humans who are sensitive to it. But we have also established with absolute certainty that in the originators of these impulses a goal prevails with the aim, preservation and elevation of the white race on this Earth from the descendants of the Aris race. Up to the present time, we have not yet been able to clarify what the meaning of the whole should be and which actual powers are hidden in the originator. Everything is very well shielded through powers that are very difficult to penetrate. At any rate, one thing is certain. The primary telepathically radiated impulses are captured by various groups of humans and recorded in writing. These are sometimes very good transmissions and explanations that come astonishingly close to the truth, or even stated in fact. But the reason for this was so far inscrutable and unclear. However, we have certain values about it, which I am not allowed to name officially, because they do not yet give an overall picture. However, it is clear that everything is concentrated around the Thule Aris Bund, but where it is actually controlled from is still unclear. Traces of this lead into a foreign galaxy, and it seems that behind the Ashtar Sharan group there is even more than what we currently know, and that it is also quite evil. Surprisingly, the writings mentioned contain an enormous amount of knowledge about valuable and good things, and about facts that are quite unknown on the Earth. Mixed in with these truths, however, are also very strange, unreal, and untrue, as well as quite negative and evil lies and things that seem like an evil foreign body in the block of good. Thus, for example, gross falsehoods are interspersed, such as the naming of false contact persons who appear or have appeared on the scene in a fraudulent form. These are also immediately noticeable as evil foreign bodies and do not make any sense in their naming. It could not be clarified so far by us. why these falsehoods are interspersed and asserted as truth, and what is the actual and quite obviously very malicious purpose of the whole. On the whole, it is certain that the primary telepathic transmissions are very valuable and sometimes even truthful in relation to things that appear unusual to the earthly man, but to which the evil falsehoods maneuvered in do not rhyme in any way. The whole thing simply makes no sense, for the logic of the very many truths is interestingly overplayed again by an unusually great illogicalness and falsehood. It is undoubted that the primary telepathic impulses of truth seekers were and are partly truthfully recorded in written form because the persons doing this are or were very truthful. But it is incomprehensible that the real truth is in short again destroyed and made questionable by untruth as well as by lies and falsehood.
Is it possible that perhaps some alien people have their hands in the game? You spoke of the Thule Eris Society and of another galaxy or of the Eris Allies. Eris was an alien after all.
I am not allowed to give any official information about that yet.
Contact Report 036.
Via the then leaders of the Thule Society and their clairvoyant Hanussen und Sintuo, see Eric Jan Hanussen, the Giza intelligences managed to take possession of the being of Adolf Hitler and to abuse him for their dark and malicious purposes, without him resisting it, because a delusional greed for power had flared up in him himself. Adolf Hitler had succumbed to a delusion of power and was also maliciously abused by the Giza intelligences, with the old Thule Society playing a not inconsiderable part in this, which, however, cannot be transferred to the society of the same name of the new form. A few days ago, through painstaking research and surveillance, we were able to gain a clear understanding of the fact that Ashtar Sharan actually exists, and that the only reason we could not recognize him was because he fraudulently wrapped himself in this name. A part of his real name is Arusiak, along with another sequence of names, and he is a cousin of the Supreme Giza Intelligence. On their behalf, he controlled the old German Thule Society, in which he introduced two strong telepathic factors, but which also influenced many Thule Society members and various outside groups on a telenautic basis, including those who received the pseudo-messages of Ashtar Sharan. Sharon's machinations in this regard continue today and will continue in the future, but no longer in connection with the reorganized Thule Society.
Contact Report 150.
Those who were murdered and slaughtered in the Third Reich between 1939 and 1945 by the indirect orders of the Thule Society via Adolf Hitler and his generals and other leading powers, etc.
Contact Report 260.
The reason for his Adolf Hitler's wrongly chosen path developed quite early on, when he secretly came in contact with the Thule Society of that time, in consequence of which he also came in contact with Hermann Steinschneider, who also belonged to the Thule Society and supported its unfair goals, and who called himself the clairvoyant, Eric Jan Hanussen. Steinschneider, that is to say Hanussen, moved in all circles of major Nazi figures, among whom he had many clients, so even also Adolf Hitler, who became enslaved to him, and indeed even before he seized the leadership for himself. Steinschneider Hanussen emerged as a middleman between the Thule Society and Hitler, and, so to speak, directed Adolf Hitler according to the Thule Society's leader's will. The efforts of the leaders at that time of the Thule Society went out for the acquisition of world domination. Consequently, already very early on, they allowed Steinschneider to influence and shape Hitler in this direction, by what means this then began, in accordance with their will, with terror and murder, to trigger World War II in the end. At the same time, Steinschneider became ever more powerful in the course of time with respect to his domination over Adolf Hitler, which didn't appeal to various people who were against Hitler and his machinations. The consequence of this was that they allowed Steinschneider, alias Hanussen, to be murdered in 1933, but this didn't change anything in Hitler's attitude and course. Therefore, he became more and more of a monster, as you would say. It's interesting to know that Adolf Hitler was born on 4/20/1889 in Braunau, Upper Austria, and Hermann Steinschneider, alias Erich Jan Hanussen, was born in Vienna, also in the year thus. Both were Austrians.
Contact Report 437.
The term New Age is, however, much older than the current trends, and leads back into the 19th century, and indeed to occult and esoteric worldviews, which, as said, were also influenced by Helena Blavatsky. Influenced by that were indeed also the National Socialistic Nazi Rudolf Hess and Sebottendorf, who, together in 1918 respectively, 1919 in Munich, founded the secret Thule Society, a lodge-type association which was constructed on the principles of Lamist teaching. This alliance functioned as an umbrella organization for old German, fatherland-orientated and ethnicity-orientated societies of Munich. The alliance pushed predominantly anti-Semitic propaganda, whereby the crowning joke of the matter is that from out of these assimilated ideologies, which were popular at the time, the founding of the United Nations came forth in the year 1945. The entire thing came forth out of the 1912 founded German Thule sect, which was connected with the 1910 founded Hammer Alliance and with the Radical People's Old German Association. Their symbols were the swastika, respectively, the hooked cross and the Germanic runes. The association had its own newspaper, the Municher Observer. The Thule Society was comprised of 1,500 members, who had connections with broad sectors of Bavarian society. Along with Rudolf Hess and Sebottendorf, many other National Socialists also belonged to the Thule Society, who also contributed to the development of subversive plans and promoted counter-revolutionary groups, as for example, the German Workers' Party and the NSDAP, Nazi Party, by name of National Socialist German Workers' Party, German Nationalsozialistische Deutsche Arbeiterpartei NSDAP, which had come out of it. Then, in 1919, the Thule Society organized a militant fighting union which decisively took part in the Free Corps to strike down the Bavarian Council Republic. That, my friend, correlates to that which I still know in regard to the history, whereby, however, I have still read up somewhat to freshen my memory.
Contact Report 520.
Hitler, who himself was partly of Jewish descent, took the false protocols and used them to fulfill his lust for power, for his criminal work, and to trigger the Second World War. With the help of the falsified protocols of the wise men of Zion, he incited himself and the German population against the Jews, finding particularly diligent supporters for his anti-Jewish propaganda among those who glorified him and with whom he was able to build up the Nazi system. And it is a fact that Adolf Hitler's plans for world conquest, which were criminal to humanity, were only discovered through the wrong protocols, with the old Thule Society supporting him in his mania for war and world domination. Only through this it was also possible, against false chroniclers and false factual experts in the matter of Adolf Hitler, etc., that this fanatical and insane criminal of humanity could lead the world into the Second World War and the Holocaust.
Contact Report 794.
The land of the Norsemen was barren at that time, and food for the peoples became increasingly scarce, which is why various Viking leaders emigrated as a result of the food shortage and sought a new home, which was to be found far across the North Sea in the land of that time, which is called America today, but which the Vikings called Thule, which they also used for Greenland, among other things, and which actually meant new land, as well as new home at that time.